Alright guys, so today I really wanted to dive deep into the very interesting season that the LA Kings had. They were an outstanding team all during the regular season. Almost unbeatable at home. I mean, the Kings had a great team. They performed well. Jim Hiller, the head coach, did a great job all throughout the year. So what happened? How did the Kings find themselves up 2-0 against the Edmonton Oilers, somehow squander that series lead, lose 4 straight, and fall victims to the Edmonton Oilers for the 4th year in a row in the first round of the playoffs? Kind of crazy stuff. How does that happen? Well, first thing I want to talk about is head coach Jim Hiller. Now, Kings fans were pretty hard on him throughout the season when the Kings would have their skids. Me personally, I didn't agree with that. And I thought Jim Hiller was pretty outstanding throughout the regular season. There were certain things here and there, but I thought he was pretty great throughout the regular season. The Kings had a great team. I'm not going to lie, my assessment of Jim Hiller, the job he's done, it changed big time in the first round of the playoffs. There were some huge blunders that Jim Hiller made. And, you know, the coaching staff in general, video coach, I'll get into that in a second. Some big mistakes by Jim Hiller. Now, I'm of the belief that way too much blame usually goes toward the head coach. This is in all sports. You see it, right? You see great head coaches get canned because the team's not performing or things aren't going the organization's way. Head coach is always the whipping boy. It sucks. I always try to be very conscious of that. So I don't think any of Jim Hiller's blame and scrutiny he got during the regular season was really justified. But the blame and scrutiny he's getting after that first round exit, being up 2-0, is justified. Here's why. So first and foremost, the first big blunder everyone's talking about, right? The coaching challenge. Jim Hiller, upon, assistance from his video coaches, this is usually how it works. The video coaches take a look at the replay and say, oh, there's something here, we should challenge this. This is a good risk to make. Let's challenge this call. And then the head coach, obviously, it's his call. He's also able to see video on the bench, and it's head coach's decision at the end of the day. So there was a goaltender interference challenge, right? You look at the play, which Jim Hiller had access to, there was nothing there. There was nothing there as far as goaltender interference. It was a very poorly assessed risk. Because now what happens, if you lose that challenge, you give the Edmonton Oilers the power play late in the game with momentum. They just tied the game. Do you want that smoke? I wouldn't. I don't think anyone would. Jim Hiller did.
This is a gaudy call from Jim Hiller. Tense Rogers Place right now on this review. There's the first chop, the second chop. I don't see him. He's getting pushed by Kopitar. You have to look at that. And then he's getting shoved by Kopitar on that play as well.
After review, the call on the ice stand.
There you go. Power play, Edmonton.
And it will be a
chance to reach.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
It's not how many you get, it's when you get it.
I've come to talk with you again.
Tied at 4. Here's Draisaitl. The blue shot. Power play goal. Edmonton needs just 10 seconds.
Shout out to Empty Netters podcast. They said it. A lot of us kind of feared it. In that moment, the series changed. The Kings, had their 2-0 lead, 2-0 lead, and they just, all the momentum went to Edmonton, went to Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, 2 of the best players in the world. They had all the momentum, and that is scary. The Oilers, from that moment on, were a rock going downhill. And the Kings were, the bush. That moment changed the series. There was another, I don't know why I did jazz hands. There was another moment that was kind of it added to the Edmonton snowball. and it was another kind of turning point. There was really two turning points, and that was Quentin Byfield. Oh boy, nightmare fuel. He said he's going to think about the play all summer, and Kings fans will as well. He had the puck late in the game. The Kings had the 1-goal lead. All Quentin Byfield needed to do was chip the puck off the wall. There was about 40 seconds left. I think that's probably game. Chip it off the wall. The smart play, the safe play. Byfield did something I would have yelled at my youth players for, which is get cute on your own blue line, especially late in the game defending a lead. Got cute. Edmonton got the puck from him, and it's in the Kings' net. Once again, just so much downhill momentum built up for the Oilers. Because of self-infliction by the Kings. And it's not just Jim Hiller, it's not just Quentin Byfield. There's a team effort to, spread the blame a little bit around. Another guy I want to talk about, the captain of the team, the face of the team, the most talented player on the team, a absolute legend, Anze Kopitar. I have a little bit of criticism for Kopitar, which is rare and it should be rare. So I've got to, I've got to be fair here and honest and say Anze Kopitar, if I had to have a favorite player on the Kings, it might be Kopitar of all time. I mean, this guy is a legend. He's done so much for the Kings, was a massive part of 2 Stanley Cups. I could go on all day. Look, I remember 2005, pretty sure it was 2005 when he was drafted. I was sitting in front of the computer hoping and praying the Kings were going to take Anze Kopitar. I was a huge fan of him playing in Sweden. I thought he was, going to fall in the draft, which he did, fell to 11 to the Kings. And I jumped for joy. I was thrilled when the Kings picked him. I, to this day, maintain I might have been the first person to buy an Anze Kopitar jersey. Right after the Kings picked him, I went and bought his jersey. He didn't even play for the team yet. He didn't have a number yet. He wasn't the number 11 Anze Kopitar we all know of. So NHL.com sent me a number 52 Kopitar jersey. That's how early I was to being a Kopitar fan. Yeah, could go on all day. Amazing dude, amazing guy in the community. Could go on all day. With that said, there's some criticisms I have of Kopitar now. Not as a person, not as a talent, not as a contributor to this franchise. I mean, give me a break. But as a leader. And the reason my mind even goes there is, look, Kopitar's been the captain of this ship. And he's been to the playoffs 5 times. The team has not made it out of the first round 1 time. Okay? So you got to look to your captain in some of those situations where you're not getting results, right? Now, to get more kind of into it and, observe and give my kind of opinion on, being obviously a staunch observer of the Kings, I look at Game 5 in this playoff series this year. The Kings came out, right? They're fighting to somehow get some life back after losing all the momentum. They needed a spark. That's the best way I could put it. They came out flat. They were flat the entire game. They needed a spark. Now, that spark could be several things.
Kind of driving back, and there's that great reach. Willie Mitchell uses one of the longest sticks in the league. Sedin's knocked down at the blue line, and Hurt Burroughs got the puck to Ballard, and his shot went wide. Henrik Sedin needs help to get up at the Vancouver bench.
The low-hanging fruit there is, let's get some physical play going. Let's finish every check, right? Let's really put it on them. Forecheck our asses off, put it on them. Finish every check, make them feel it. Don't make life easy on the D getting the puck up ice. So, you're kind of looking for that. You're looking for that spark to come from someone. Who better than your captain in the face of your franchise? I know Anze Kopitar is not a big brute. He's not Stu Grimson. He's not a guy who's going to go out there and just start throwing the weight around. But as a captain, that's certainly helpful. And you know what? Maybe that's not a characteristic of Kopitar. But in that instance, in that Game 5, you should be playing pissed off. You're about to get knocked out. For the 4th year in a row in the first round, I want to see my captain pissed off and playing with some fire. I want to see Anze Kopitar throwing his weight around. You know, you don't have to be that player for the rest of your life, but you know what? It's kind of do or die time, and the team needs you. The team needs a spark. The team needs something, anything. And for Kopitar just to, once again, insanely talented. If he has the puck on his stick, he's obviously going to help your team, but I want to see some fire, some passion. I want to see Kopitar pissed off. I would like to see Kopitar throw his stick one time. Usually you don't look for that stuff, but those to me, and I could be, people are probably going to disagree, those to me are leader traits. Like, Kopitar is a lead by example guy. Set the example of losing being unacceptable. It's kind of felt like the opposite under Kopitar's captaincy. So getting back to Jim Hiller a little bit, because at the end of the day, I do think Jim Hiller's kind of coaching in that first round was the number one factor. I don't ever really come away from watching a playoff series and feel like, ooh, the coach really didn't give them a shot. And for me, I did come away feeling that way. So not only the coaching challenge, which was a horrible mistake, but when you look at the ice time distribution, you're going to have some tired guys at the top of your lineup when you're not even allowing your fourth line guys to see ice. You're not allowing your third pairing. Yeah, the ice time distribution was very, very strange for Jim Hiller. And you could also go back to that Byfield play I mentioned, and you could possibly make the case that he makes that play because he's tired as hell. Byfield was playing a lot of minutes that game, as were all of the top guys. So the fresh legs weren't really getting looks, and it was only the tired legs out there over and over and over. So you could make the case that that was a fatigue play by Byfield. The other thing with Jim Hiller, and this is not just a Jim Hiller thing, this is a team thing, this is perhaps a leadership thing, maybe going back to Kopitar again, but when the Kings had those leads against the Oilers, going into the third, they went into a complete defensive shell. I pointed this out in a video I did. Maybe I'll link it here, perhaps. I don't know. But the Kings went into a defensive shell. They stopped forechecking and just sat back. The Oilers brought the game to them. The Oilers got a ton of chances. The Oilers easily got the puck on a McDavid and Draisaitl stick over and over and over until they got enough chances to tie the game and win. So that was a huge mistake as well. I know, Jim Hiller, I know it's been said that that's not Hiller's call, like, hey, we're going to sit back. But you're the coach, and you're coaching the guys. So the big elephant in the room there is coach them to forecheck. Coach them not to be sitting back. We're doing it the whole third. Doing it the whole, end of the game. OT, on your heels. It's just... It was not a good coaching performance any way you slice it. And once again, this is going back to me being a huge fan of Jim Hiller during the regular season. This was a very, very disappointing job behind the bench in this first round. We're talking about what happened and kind of some of the guys that come to mind. Another guy that comes to mind, Vezina Trophy nominee Darcy Kuemper. Once again, kind of the Jim Hiller same story. Outstanding during the regular season. Earned himself a Vezina nomination as goalie of the year. He was lights out. I was very disappointed with Darcy Kuemper in the playoffs. There were not many timely saves. Like I said, when the snowball started rolling down the hill for the Oilers, there was nothing really in the way of stopping it, including Darcy Kuemper. Kuemper did have that great showing in overtime. But outside of that, just was not a good goaltending performance by Darcy Kuemper. Did not have good numbers, not a good save percentage. When it's playoff time, everything gets tighter. Everyone's job becomes more important. And Darcy Kuemper's regular season performance compared to his, Showtime playoff performance were two totally different products. And, I think if we're being honest and we're fair here, you got to look a little bit at that and say Darcy Kuemper's got to be better in the playoffs. So, with all of this being said, I don't want to make this a 2-hour-long video here. On the heels of all of this happening, all this chaos and excitement and disappointment, in my opinion, surprisingly, the Kings and Rob Blake parted ways. Now, I say parted ways because, once again, surprisingly and oddly, Luc Robitaille, the president of the Kings, gave a press conference and would not clarify whether Rob Blake wanted to stay or whether it was Rob Blake's decision to go. So, it's just an interesting way that the LA Kings are ran sometimes. Looking at that from the fans' perspective, that's kind of rough because you're point blank keeping the fans in the dark about a very, very big decision with the organization. It's like, yeah, we just let our GM go after 4 straight seasons of making the playoffs. He had a phenomenal offseason. Warren Foegele, Darcy Kuemper, Tanner Jeannot, Joel Edmondson, and then a phenomenal trade deadline, giving up no roster pieces to get Andrei Kuzmenko, who seems like revitalized his whole career, fit like a glove in LA. Beautiful work by Blake, objectively. And now we're parting ways with him, but we're not going to be transparent on whether this was a firing, an organization decision, or whether this was the GM not wanting to re-up. So, my goodness, the Rob Blake saga, just alone, forget about everything else, the Rob Blake saga from his beginning of his playing career with the Kings to now has just been marred by confusion and does this guy want to be part of the Los Angeles Kings? It keeps coming back, He had a controversial sort of tenure as a player here, a controversial jersey retirement, a controversial, management role. So, the LA Kings are a full-blown novella. It's just full-blown novella mode. Kind of bizarre move from Robitaille and ownership to not be transparent with the fan base about what happened with Rob Blake. I'm personally very curious because, like I said, if it's a what have you done for me lately, you got to say Blake had a phenomenal offseason, a phenomenal trade deadline. So who knows what's going on there? There's speculation that ownership is meddling with Blake's job and not allowing him to really leave his print on the team and do things his way. That's a possibility. We're allowed to speculate now because the LA Kings have really laid that road out by not being transparent with what happened here. So, anyways, this was a lot of words. There's a ton going on. We could get into the GM search and stuff later, but like I said, there's just no information to really go off of, so it would be purely speculation. We could talk about, is it going to be Mark Bergevin? Is Mike Fuda going to come back? Is Mark Yannetti going to get promoted? He's done a great job as head of scouting. So who knows with all that? That could be a 10-hour video. So this has already been pretty long. Thank you guys for watching and would love to know your thoughts on kind of what happened this season. Have a good one, guys. Thanks for watching.